This is T20 Nlaka'pamux assembly. This is what we're doing today, is showing you the supplies needed to make a ribbon skirt. We need elastic for your waist, rotary cutter to cut the fabric, scissors, fabric chalk, heat bond thread, a bobbin, measuring tape, a seam ripper, pins, 505 spray, adhesive spray, measuring yardstick, 2 meters of fabric, ribbon, yarn, cutting board, sewing machine, and your ironing board. How to thread a sewing machine. So we start on the top thread holder. You push the thread in and you put the this holder on to hold the thread. So then you go, it generally shows you on the machine how to thread the machine. So this one has a number 1, number 2, number 3 going down here, up and into this loop here, and then back down and into this loop down here. And this one has a threader, a needle threader, so that's really great for a person. I usually just put this down so I can see. And then with a needle threader, you have to put it through that loop and then this loop and then hold it quite tight and then release it. And then the thread will come through. And I usually have a pin here to pull the thread on the other side. There it is. So that's the top threading mechanism. Every machine is different. Now to thread the bobbin, you need to make sure this thread is facing towards the left. Always towards the left. And you drop it in. This is a top loading bobbin. Then there's some little mechanisms here that you push it through the thread until you hear it click. Then you pull this up, and once again you're ready to sew with both threads up and down. Put the latch back on. That's facing that way. So that's how you load a sewing machine. Getting to know your sewing machine. This is a Janome sewing machine. So we're talking about getting a stitch selector, which is here, the length, that controls the stitch style and the length right here. Now be aware that every model of machine might have it a little different. The tension control is right here. So it's set there at number 4. That controls how loose and tight the thread is while you're sewing. The thread guides, this shows the direction the thread goes to go in the right here. So like if you had your thread of, oh, there it is. This is called a bobbin. And the bobbin, of course, fits in here, which is, this is called a bobbin right here. Bobbin case, and this is a bobbin. And you put that bobbin in to the machine, and it always faces a certain way. Okay? So you would put that into your, and then there's a little loop there. It goes in there and into this little hook, and there your bobbin's ready. This is called a side bobbin, and so it would fit in there nicely and not move. Your pressure foot lever, and when this is plugged in, it acts like a gas pedal when you're driving a car. So you don't want to press too hard because it'll really speed. And some machines have a control mechanism on them, so you can't go too fast. This little lever at the back puts it up and down so that it will hold your fabric in place. You can see that once it's threaded, it goes up and down, and you need to put it down when you want to sew. Making sure that you always think of the safety of a sewing machine. You don't want to put your fingers anywhere near that needle when it's operating. This is called a needle plate, and you could see on here it has some measurements. This is a metal plate that holds the pressure foot. And actually you have dogs on your sewing machine. They're called feed dogs. This is where the bobbin thread comes up to meet the needle going down to make the stitch. There are lines on here to guide you for a seam. So you'll see there's numbers on there. And the feed dogs, they're hard to see because they're under there. See, they're quite bumpy. They're rough teeth that hold your fabric in place. So that you have to push your fabric through there very gently. This lever is the reverse stitch lever. And if you want to reverse your stitch, you push this and hold it, and your sewing will go backwards. And then when you let it go, it'll come back the normal way. Here on this side is called the hand wheel. When you want to push your needle up or down manually, you can do that. So that's the hand wheel. I've talked about the bobbin case already. So that's your sewing machine. Got 2 meters of fabric, and now this person's going to wrap it around them and take one step forward and put the pieces together and mark it where you want it. Are you happy with that? And then we're going to just do a little snip here, and then you're going to rip it. Continuing on with our ribbon skirt, we've got 2 pieces of material that's folded in half. You'll notice that. And then your elastic that you measured on your waist here. And then what you do with your elastic is you fold it in half. And you fold it in half again. And then you place it at the top. With the elastic, when you put it onto the skirt fabric, you need to add 1 inch. So that's there. And your meter stick would go right down that way. And I would mark it with the marker's chalk. Oops. And I start to cut on the fabric, pressing down as hard as you can. And there you have your skirt. What we'll be doing is putting a little hem up on the top when you have your fabric for your waist after you sew the seams. We will be sewing the seams, and you'll be putting a waist on and your hem. Oh, before that you'll be putting ribbons on. Did we say 7.5, right? 7.5. So let me just do.
Should I grab a chocolate pen?
I'm just going to measure that, and then I'm going to just go across and cut it. When you're placing your ribbon from the bottom of the skirt, make sure you place it where you want it. So there's the wrong way and the right way for the ribbon. You just need to find the shinier side. That's the upside. So on the heat bond, you need to find the wrong side, which is sort of the dull side of the ribbon. And then on the heat bond, there's sort of a flat edge and a rough edge. And what you do is you put the heat bond on there and you press it with not a hot iron, because it'll ruin your ribbon, and a low temperature. And then you'll notice that, so the top layer will come off, and then you will stick it onto where you want it. Okay, the next step then would be sewing on your ribbon. You can use a straight stitch if you want, or you can zigzag, because then you can do one zigzag right in the center and it would hold both ribbons. So a lot of people just zigzag it right across on both sides. So that's the next step right there. And this is how they look like on the inside. Looks like just a oven mitt. And she's just put it on the side seam of her skirt. And then what she's done is cut out a hummingbird, and then she zigzagged it onto her skirt. So there's her. And then talking about shawls, I'm going to show you the one that, here's an adult shawl that I made, and the dimensions of this shawl are 52 inches wide, and you'll see how it's made with the ribbons, putting the same ribbons on and the applique with the hummingbird. So basically what you need to do is just measure your fabric onto yourself, like so, and decide how you want your shawl. If you want it longer, you need to make it a little bit longer, wider. And then you'll notice the back. I've put the hummingbird on the side, not directly on the back. So you can really decorate your shawl. So that's like a ribbon shawl. A piece of satin material. It's very shiny, and you'll notice these threads on there, and they're crocheted on. These are more, I guess, traditional, but I know that the young girls now put ribbons all on their shawls, and that's an option and easier to do. And this is what I've done. I've bought this thread, and this is what I've crocheted onto my shawl with a crochet hook. So you measure all these lengths out, how long you want them, and then I think I've tripled on here. So I've had a long length, and then you could see the crocheted part on here to hold that. And the really nice thing about these threads is that when you put the shawl on and the women are dancing, the steps, the steps that the women use when they dance, the shawl, the tassels really swing. So, those are the really nice thing about these, this part of the shawl. You can make those with really different types of material. You can crochet these on. There's all different ways to make a shawl, and it's really quite easy to make. The other shawl that I've made so that your hands are free. I've just cut a piece of material around, sewed it so that it's circular, and so it's reversible, and then I've put a fringe on so your hands are free. You know, there's different ways if you look on internet how to make a shawl. So that's a really simple way to complement your ribbon skirt, is to make a shawl. Chook.